Like and subscribe right now, or this spider will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Animals, especially wild ones, might act like they have their lives figured out, but this isn't always the case. Sometimes they get into trouble and are desperate to get out. During these times, they approach humans for assistance and get the help they deserve. Here are 15 times animals sought human help. Did they get it? It's your job to find out. Number 1. Dog. This dog mistakenly slipped into a canal with flowing water. The rush came with an intense force that would have swept it away, had a good Samaritan not come to its rescue. Sighting the dog from a distance, this man jumped into a canal to rescue it. He tried to drag it and push it to the land. But seeing the hedge was too long and slippery, he devised another means. Thankfully, the other guys on land were willing to help, so they formed a chain by holding themselves and creating a strong bond. When the man gripped the dog, they dragged themselves out of the canal until the animal was rescued. Onlookers congratulated the men for their good work. Number 2. Bear cub. This bear cub was having a regular day in the wild when it was unlucky to be caught in a trap. The animal had cried for hours until locals heard it and raised the alarm. They alerted the local authorities, who ran to the venue to rescue the animal. They were joined by the emergency services and police in case of any eventuality. The cub was scared and desperate to leave the place, but the trap was tight on her neck. Seeing people around her made her even more aggressive, so she was tranquilized to allow them to do their job. They successfully detangled the ropes that held the bear and released it back into the wild. Number 3. Pufferfish. This adventurous diver couldn't go about his regular business at sea after he found a stranded pufferfish. It was hooked with a fishing line and roamed helplessly on the seafloor. The animal was in pain and may have been like that for days. The diver is committed to helping the poor animal, but needs clarification about how to do it. Therefore, he puts his head out of the water to ask his friends on the boat what to do. When he got the advice, he grabbed the hook from the mouth where it was stuck and began pulling it gradually. He was scared that the animal would bite him, but thankfully it didn't. He successfully got it out and could tell how grateful the fish was. Number 4. This shark lover couldn't withstand seeing her favorite animal in pain and doing nothing. She knew she would go to any length to rescue her. When she found one with a fishing hook stuck into her mouth, she patted it on the back and the fish was relaxed. She put her hand in the animal's mouth and removed it safely. Neither she nor the animal was injured in the process. Many have asked how she pulled through with this, especially knowing how dangerous sharks are. She explained that they communicate, and one has to listen to their body language. Number 5. Flying fox. This adult gray-headed flying fox was trapped in a pool when it had no business being there. Knowing how difficult it is to get them out of such places, you could easily give up on a quick rescue operation. The animal would even make several attempts at escaping, but would be unsuccessful. Not to make things worse, the ledges around the pool were narrow, and the rescuer wanted to stay dry. They had to set a long metal board over the pool to allow the bat to swim and climb to it. Eventually, the animal was committed to being alive and made it to the board. They rescued and cared for her until she was ready to be returned to the wild. Number 6. Fox. When this fox got tangled in a garden nest, her owner called an expert to help her out before it was too late. The fox had struggled for hours until Simon came. The expert used tiny scissors to tear the ropes while the animal stood still. Due to the spinning, the strings were so tight and intertwined that they almost didn't go away. However, he eventually rescued the animal. It immediately returned to the wild without a word of thanks to its rescuer. Number 7. Tangled Swans. If you didn't know swans, you'd probably think these animals were best friends that deliberately stuck to themselves. On the contrary, they were held together by a rope against their wishes and needed help. The duo swam to shore in the hopes that someone would detangle them. And yes, they were right. The men on land were willing to help, and they did. Both animals went their separate ways after the rescue operation. Number 8. Horse. As huge as horses are, they sometimes need help from humans. This unlucky animal was submerged in floodwater and would have died if no one had come to its rescue. As it struggled to stay afloat, the force of the water increased. Bystanders couldn't watch the flood take away their favorite animals, so they dived into the water to rescue the horses. Most of them made it out of there, thanks to the collaborative efforts of the men. Land and sea animals are often affected by floodwaters. Number 9. Buffalo. This clip was filmed in the Lua Wildlife Conservancy swamp. The young rescuers understand that these animals are often stuck in the swamp, so they're around to help them. This seemingly heavy animal was stuck in the swamp and couldn't get out after several hours of trying. It had almost given up when these wildlife workers saw it. They dragged the weak animal out of the murky water, but it could barely move afterward. It was already exhausted from several hours of trying to leave the murky water. Looking at its skin, you can tell it was there for many hours. Number 10. Turtle. This vessel was on a fishing expedition but did more than they bargained for. As the captain moved on the water, he noticed a sea turtle trapped in a fishing net. He asked one of the fishermen to dive into the water to save the animal. When he did, he found the helpless animal struggling for its life, so he brought it into the boat, where he cut the net and the animal was set free. The men believe the animal may have been in that condition for up to 5 days. When the net was off, the turtle swam free. It wouldn't have survived if it had remained in that condition for longer. Number 11. Baby sloth. This baby sloth was stuck on a beach in Costa Rica because it cried aloud. Luckily, rescuers were already alerted before the predators arrived. The animal was already exhausted after surviving the previous night's storm when they got there. It was wet with salt water and had sand in its eyes. It was tiring when they got there, but they became hopeful seeing someone was there to help them. Since there was no adult sloth in the area, they took it to a lodge where they rinsed the salt water off its face and took it to an animal rescue center. The animal survived the trauma and bounced back on her feet. However, we don't know if she was returned to the wild. Number 12. Giraffe. Giraffes are adventurous animals, and this sometimes lands them in trouble. This adult animal was frustrated for days after a tire strung around its neck. But one day, the veterinary staff were passing by and saw the helpless giant. They didn't hesitate to pull it out and make the animal feel loved. After the tire was removed, the animal struggled to be free from the team, but they didn't let it go so soon. They injected it and did a quick checkup to ensure it was all right. Trust the ungrateful animal to get up and run into the wild without a word of thanks for her helpers. The bruised animal was willing to allow the wound on her neck to heal within a few days before she was fully back on her feet. Number 13. King Cobra. Who would think that the king cobra would need a human to help her? Sometimes, humans are scared to help them since they're the largest venomous reptile on our planet. Its venom is so potent that it leads to respiratory failure. Thus, huge cobra was a victim of severe drought, so it was forced to come into this Indian village. Locals understood that it may have been so thirsty and needed water. They alerted the authorities and didn't consider killing it despite how dangerous it is. Before rescuers arrived, they gave it water from a watering can while filming and uploading the footage on the internet. The authorities commended the men for their love of nature. The animal remained calm until it was released back into the wild. Number 14. Orcas trapped in ice. Sometimes, Russia is so cold that the water is frozen and aquatic animals are affected. Despite this condition, these workers braved the chilly waters to rescue 4 orcas trapped in ice. The head of the Russian emergency ministry in the region led the operation and explained that the water is filled with stones. The rescuers paddled on the iced water while using the paddle to shift the ice so the whales could swim freely. Although the rescue operation took several hours, it was worth it. They rescued all our orcas and took them to high waters where they could swim without obstruction. Rescue operations like these are common in Russia in extreme conditions. Number 15. Dolphin. Had this diver not met this bottlenose dolphin when he did, The animal would have been another victim of environmental pollution. The diver led a group of snorkelers on a diving expedition when the dolphin begged to be noticed. It swam towards him until the diver noticed that something was amiss. He looked again and found a hook lodged in one of its fins. Dolphins are intelligent animals that understand humans too. Seeing that this diver was willing to help, the animal remained calm and allowed the diver to remove the hook safely. When he was done, the animal swam swiftly and wagged its tail to say thank you. Until next time, adios.